how can we use mind to eliminate mind? It seems we need to do that, meaning we need mind to do that. However, wouldn't it become a paradox that remains?
The outward-looking mind can never get rid of the outward-looking mind. So long as we're looking outwards, we'll continue looking outwards. The mind is a mind so long as it's looking outwards. So as Bhagavan said, all other sadhanas, all other practices, they take the existence of ego or mind for granted. And they use that mind to try and control the breath, or to do puja, japa, dhyana, practice bhakti, all very, very good things. But it's still using that mind in the outward-looking mind. The outward-looking mind can never know the truth. The outward-looking mind can never destroy itself. However, that same mind which is looking outwards at other things, instead of looking outwards, if it turns back to look within, to look at itself, to see who am I, it thereby ceases to be mind and remains as the pure awareness.
Right.
That is what Bhagavan is explaining in verse 25 of we're looking up to. The nature of ego is to rise, stand, and flourish by grasping form. So long as we continue grasping form, we are feeding ego, so we cannot get rid of ego. So we can do all sorts of good actions. We can do all sorts of charity and noble deeds. We can make so many sacrifices for the sake of others. We can worship God. We can do puja. We can do japa. We can do dhyana. We can do all sorts of yogas. We can do all the 8 limbs of yoga and everything. But we still cannot kill this ego because we're still looking outwards. So long as we look outwards, so long as we grasp anything other than ourselves, we cannot destroy ego, nor can we destroy ego by merely stopping thinking, which is the aim of yoga. Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. The aim of yoga is to curb the mental activity. What happens when you curb mental activity? The mind will subside, but it subsides only in laya. Every night when we fall asleep, we curb all mental activity. Chitta vritti nirodha is achieved every night. So if you want to achieve chitta vritti nirodha, very simply, get tired and you'll automatically fall asleep. That is chitta vritti nirodha. But the next morning it all rises again, because that is manolaya, not manonasa. So how to bring about manonasa? As Bhagavan says in verse 13 of Upadesha Undiyya, he says, dissolution of mind is of 2 kinds, laya and nasa. What is subsided in laya will rise again. If its form dies, it will not rise. In other words, if we subside in nasa, we will never rise again. So how to bring about the destruction of the mind? Bhagavan says in the next verse, verse 14, if the mind which will subside by means of breath control, before it subsides completely in laya, he doesn't say that, but that's the obvious implication. If that mind is sent on orvari, then only will its form die. So what is that orvari? Orvari has 2 meanings. It means aurum vari, the investigating path. In other words, the path of self-investigation, ātma-vicāra. It also can be taken to mean the one path, or vari can also mean oruvari. What is that one path? What is the one path by means of which the mind will subside? Only self-investigation. So whether we take it to mean one path or the path of investigating, it implies the same. Only by turning our attention away from everything else, back towards ourselves. We shouldn't, Bhagavan never asked us to try and stop thoughts. Because if you try and stop thoughts, firstly, it's very difficult to stop thoughts. You need special techniques of yoga to bring that about. Well, it's easy because when we get tired, we fall asleep. But normally in day-to-day life, we can't just bring about cessation of thoughts Because the ego, which wants to bring about the cessation of thoughts, is itself a thought. That's why in yoga they have all sorts of tricks like pranayama to bring about this subsidence of mind. But the subsidence of mind, the mind subsides in what is called nirvikalpa samadhi. But according to Bhagavan, that nirvikalpa samadhi is just like sleep. It's just a state of manolaya. The mind is going to rise from it again, as he says in the 8th paragraph of Nana. Though the mind remains subsided, so long as the breath remains subsided, when the breath emerges, the mind will also emerge and wander under the sway of its vasana. So remaining in nirvikalpa samadhi or manolaya does not bring about the destruction or even the weakening of Vishaya vasanas, because the Vishaya vasanas are inactive in that state. In order to bring about the destruction of mind, the only way is to turn the mind back within. That is what Bhagavan means by sending the mind on the orvari, the investigating part. That means sending it back within to see who am I. When we turn within to see who am I, ego will thereby subside, and ego will see itself as pure awareness, then it will be destroyed. Ego cannot be destroyed merely that is in sleep, but ego subsides. But why does it rise again? Because ego subsides, and what remains in sleep is pure awareness. But ego isn't there to experience that pure awareness, so ego doesn't die. You cannot kill ego in its absence. So ego needs to see itself as pure awareness. It can see itself as pure awareness only by turning its attention back within, withdrawing its attention from all other things and attending only to itself. As soon as it sees itself as pure awareness, it ceases to be ego and remains as pure awareness. That is what is called eradication of ego. That is what is called manonasa. So it is only by this self-investigation that the mind will die. So Bhagavan has made this so clear.